WDEB News presents the regular monthly meeting of the Fentress County Commission. The Fentress County Commission meets the third Monday of each month, and you can see it live on Channel 12 Cable TV. It's a presentation of the Union Bank of Jamestown and Clark Range, your reliable banking partner since 1904.
For more than a century, Union Bank has been serving the people of Fentress County. Now, as we begin a new chapter in our history of service, we want to take this opportunity to reassure you that while our building may be new, we're still the same friendly people you have known for years. Union Bank, the same people, the same goals, and the same commitment to you. Union Bank, your locally owned hometown bank for more than a century, growing to meet your needs. Equal Housing Lender Member FDIC.
We'll call this meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge to the flag by Commissioner Leon Stepp and remain standing for opening prayer by Commissioner Lester Gooding.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Y'all bow your heads for prayer, please. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Father, we thank you for this day that we've had, and we thank you for your mercy and your saving grace. Most of all, Father, we thank you for your only begotten Son, Jesus Christ. And Lord, we ask tonight that you bless each and every one that's come out tonight, and bless this commission for the things that we have to do tonight. And all this I ask in Jesus' precious holy name. Amen. Amen.
We'd like to welcome everyone tonight for joining us. It's been a while since we've been in here. I think they started construction maybe in October. And then before that, I believe it was like March or April when we left here and started having our meetings downstairs because of the COVID. But I'd like to once again thank everyone for coming, and you're more than welcome to be here. Miss Marilyn, would you care to call the roll, please?
Mickey McDonald. Here. Justin Miller.
Here.
Rod Williams.
Here.
Kim Davison.
Here.
Benny Hughes.
Here.
Robert Cooper.
Here.
Lester Gooding.
Here.
Leon Stepp.
Here.
Larry Cooper.
Here.
Julie Matthews. Here. All present.
All present. Item number 5, consideration and approval of the minutes from the February 22nd, 2021 regular meeting. Hope everyone's had a chance to read those. What's the will?
Make a motion to accept them.
Motion by Commissioner Lester Gooding to accept. Do I hear a second?
I second it.
Second by Commissioner Rod Williams. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary likewise. Motion passes. Consideration number 6 of approval of notaries. Doris K. Bilbrey, Tracy Smith, Cody J. Hamby, Deborah Bilbrey, and Lauren Elizabeth Hall.
Lee Adcock.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner, who was it? Kim. Oh, sorry, Kim. Second, motion by Kim Davison, second by Commissioner Mickey McDonald. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary likewise. Next, we have kind of a special moment here, the consideration of approval of a proclamation designating March 28th, 2021 as Bishop Johnny Rexroth Day in Fentress County in honor of his faithful service to his family and also to his community. Mr. Johnny Rexroth was a service to the community for several years as pastor and singer, and also with his family. And we have some proclamations here to give those tonight. What's the will of the court?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Justin Miller to approve, second by
Second.
Commissioner Robert Cooper. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Contrary likewise. Would you all come forward, please? Read the proclamation. Proclamation and the Board of Fentress County Commission declaring March 28th Bishop Johnny Rexroth Day. Whereas Johnny Sharp Rexroth was born March 28, 1938 to Holly and Myrtle Sharp Rexroth. Johnny was one of 5 children, and he grew up in a loving home on the Rexroth farm in Russell Springs, Kentucky. And whereas Johnny married his sweetheart, Margie Nadine Burkett, on May 6, 1961, and in that same year, Johnny enlisted to the United States Army. Johnny and Nadine were blessed with 5 children, Teresa, Joyce, John, Beth, and Glenn. And whereas Johnny and Nadine traveled and ministered wherever the Lord led for over 50 years, and whereas Johnny always had an open door and listening ear for anyone hurting or in need, including opening his home to foster children for over 30 years, and whereas Johnny loved to get outdoors to hunt, fish, and work in his garden, and whereas Johnny's number one goal in life was to lead everyone to Jesus. And now therefore, I, Jimmy Johnson, Fentress County Executive, along with the Fentress County Board of Commission, officially declare March 28, 2021, Bishop Johnny Rexroth Day. This is to be in memory of Johnny Rexroth and in recognition of his service to Fentress County. So on behalf of myself and the Commission of Fentress County, I want you to accept this, please. Item number 8, we have Dakota Gordon with us tonight, and he's going to speak just for a moment on consideration of approval of Resolution 2021-07 supporting Marcy's Law, which will strengthen and protect the rights of victims in Tennessee. Mr. Gordon, would you care to come up to the microphone and speak, please?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Dakota Gordon, and I'm with Marcy's Law for Tennessee. I'm acting as the advocacy coordinator for the state, and it's an honor and privilege to be here. I'd like to thank Executive Johnson for his time and consideration of this subject. We've had a few excellent conversations around the matter, and I'd like to thank the County Commission as well for the opportunity to come and speak and share this very important cause with you guys this evening. First, I'd like to give you a very brief idea of what Marcy's Law is, and to do that, I'm going to give you the story of the namesake for Marcy. So in 1988, a young woman named Marceline Nichols in Southern California was dating a young man, and when she had broken off relations with him, he had decided to end his own life, and in that moment had put a firearm to his head and tried to do so. Well, she jumped in to stop, and he, in his moment of whatever he was experiencing, shot her point blank in the face, and it was a very brutal murder. And to make things worse, after the funeral, the day of, on the way home from said funeral, Miss Nichols' mother and her brother stopped at a grocery store and were confronted by the murderer himself at the grocery store. They had no idea he had been released on bail. And that point right there, the phrase, they had no idea he had been released on bail, is really the foundation of Marcy's Law and what we seek to do, not only in California, which they did, they were able to pass it very successfully, and as well as a few other states, but here in Tennessee. an emotional experience to suffer a crime in the first place, but to be confronted by the person that made you a victim by that nature can be just as traumatic, if not even more. And what Marcy's Law seeks to do, and has done in many states, is prevented that uncertainty by way of constitutionally enforcing rights of victims to things like notifications, the ability to speak at a plea or a sentencing or a trial in that way, and not just to have these rights in statute, but to truly have them constitutionally provided the same way that we do offenders. As most folks know, when you're arrested for a crime or charged with a crime, you are then Mirandized because you have rights constitutionally as an offender to due process, which is something that we absolutely value and do not infringe upon in any way. But what you're left with on the other side of that is an inequality when it comes to the people who were made to become victims. So again, what we seek to do is to provide constitutional rights to victims to make them equal to those of offenders in the criminal justice system. And kind of the way that we do that, for instance, in Tennessee, Tennessee has a Bill of Rights already, which is fantastic for victims and encourages them to seek justice throughout the process, but unfortunately what it doesn't have is an enforcement clause. And so if those rights aren't met or upheld in the criminal justice system or in a court of law, there's no enforcement for that, and they're able to seek no recourse. Where an offender would be, if their rights are constitutionally violated in a court of law, they have a right to not only stop a trial, but in many cases it frees them of any conviction at all, because they, due to constitutional rights, to a mistrial and impropriety of that nature. But what we seek to do in Tennessee is to take those rights that we have, for instance, the right to a timely notice for if someone is being released from jail or from incarceration during pre-sentencing as well as post-conviction. So for instance, there's an example I like to use out of Oregon. Two young ladies were sexually accosted by a young man and he was incarcerated. But before he could get sentenced, COVID happened and he was released from his county jail. Well, there was no right to notification for those young women, and so he promptly went and murdered both of them. Marcy's Law seeks to prevent those types of loopholes and fall-throughs in the criminal justice system. So again, I appreciate the opportunity to come by and to share a little bit of what it means to advocate for victims' rights in this way, and how it can enfranchise folks in most any community. And the way I like to share this is we passed it first with the Shelby County Commission. It's one of our most urban areas in the state. And now I seek to pass it in a more rural area as well, because enfranchisement is important across the board, and Tennesseans of all types deserve equal and enforceable rights as victims in our criminal justice system. So I'm eager to chat with anyone outside of this forum, but did want to come and share a little bit about what we do and how we're organizing across the state to guarantee these rights for victims in the state of Tennessee. And I'm happy to take some questions, but don't want to take anyone's time.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Gordon?
It's a pretty complex subject, I understand. It's a bit like drinking from a fire hydrant, but I'm always happy to sit down and chat with anyone. I've had a few really great discussions with Executive Johnson. I appreciate your time with those, and would be happy to do that with anyone else as well. So,
Ms. Leslie, would you care to?
Essentially, I think everything that he said is something that goes right along with and just enhances maybe the Tennessee Victims' Rights statutes.
Yes, ma'am.
We all aren't asking to pass this particularly for Fentress County, but just Fentress County gives it support so that the state can take that on, and then perhaps onto a federal level for constitutionality. So
that is absolutely our goal. Yes, ma'am. And we think to make that case, to get a majority of states in consensus before approaching it federally is the best way to go, and we are succeeding in doing so.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we pass this resolution.
I'll second that. Motion made by Commissioner Larry Cooper, second by Commissioner Benny Hughes. Any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, likewise. Mr. Gordon, thank you very much for coming up tonight.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Item number 9, consideration of approval of Resolution 2021-05, adopting the official seal of Fentress County, designed by Tennessee Tech student and Center for Rural Innovation intern Jesse Pilatillo. Y'all have seen the our new sign that we had made up, our seal for Fentress County. It has a lot of stories to tell about it as far as the date that it was, the rope around it. It has everyone together. The description of Poghala, our agriculture, with the ears of corn and such. Our courthouse that's been here, stood the test of time since 1905, 1906 era. So, it's something I think that everyone will be proud of, and I hope that everyone enjoys it in the future years to come. So what is the will of the commission, please?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Motion by Commissioner Lester Gooding to accept. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Robert Cooper. Is there any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary likewise. Motion passes. Item number 10, discussion of the table motion for the request from the Fentress County Highway Department that the revenue from the public chapter number 570, the Sports Gaming Act, to be designated to the Highway Department for asphalt, hot mix, cold mix, and liquid asphalt. And we might want to review this each 2 years to see, how much that it is. If it gets up there, to quite some bit, which I hope that it does, for the Highway Department. And do I hear a motion to this effect to, let this go to the Highway Department for asphalt to help on the roads?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Mickey McDonald, second by Commissioner
I second.
Julie Matthews. Any more discussion?
I think Tyler's gonna bring a resolution back for next month to set this up on. I mean, we can pass it tonight, but we also have to pass a resolution stating, and we definitely need to put something in there if we're gonna revisit it every 2 years or whatever needs to be in that.
Yeah, this would need to come in resolution format.
Any more discussion? I don't think it's a whole lot right now, but hopefully in the years to come, it'll be quite a bit. Roll call vote, please.
Mickey? Four. Justin?
For
Rod?
Four.
Kim?
Forward.
Benny?
4.
Robert?
4.
Lester?
4.
Leon?
4.
Larry?
4.
Julie? 4. 10 for, none against.
10 for, none against, motion passes. And Tyler, it has a number here, to add the following account for receipt of the revenue. It's 46855.
Yeah, that'll come in on the revenues.
For
It comes-
privilege tax, it's got a.
That'll come on the revenues. It comes to the trustee's office.
Item number 11. Consideration of the approval of the reappointment of the following Joint Economic and Community Development Board members. It is John Gunner, Andy Langford, Lee Brown, Lynn Delp, Barbara Powell, Michael Reagan, terms to expire 12/20/22, and elected new appointment seat to the board, Mayor Harvey Stowers. What's the will of the commission?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Lester Gooding to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Justin Miller. All in favor, please say aye. Noes likewise.
Mr. Chairman, does his term expire 12/20/22 as well?
His is co-terminates with his election, so he stays on, it says the mayor's seat.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Item number 12, consideration of approval of the appointment of Bart Neely for First District Equalization Board, filling the seat of Harvey Stowers for a term of 2 years to expire 4 of 2023.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Rod Williams. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Justin Miller. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Noes likewise. Item number 13, consideration of approval of Resolution 2021-06, authorizing the submission of the Safe Court Grant in the amount of $10,000 with a 20% required match. Ms. Leslie, would you like to touch on that, please?
Thank you. General Jared Effler's office sent this over to us. We got this grant about 4 years ago, I think, 3 or 4 years ago, when it was available through the Tennessee court system. Essentially, what we did with it last time was secure 2 video cameras for the hallway as you enter the Justice Center, and the 2 planters. I know they look like pretty flower boxes, but they're actually huge concrete planters that doesn't allow anybody to drive through the front doors of the Justice Center. So that's how we spent our roughly $11,000 last year, was the installation and the coordination of those 2 cameras with the security system at the jail, so they're monitored in the tower at all times. What General Effler's office had said was pretty well needed, and I think in sort of interviewing everybody over at the Justice Center, what's missing there is something that victims and witnesses, victims being crime victims who were back in live court as of today, especially children. We did, I think, 208 DCS cases last year, so that's at least 208 children that had to come to testify, and most of those have more than 1 children in a family. So, over 300 kids in and out of there throughout the year testifying, or there for meetings. We have lots and lots, unfortunately, of meetings with these kids, but not just those kids, but victims also of other crimes. And we have 4 witness rooms, a small conference room, and a grand jury room where we use for these situations, but they are all equipped with some original chairs from 2014 that were, I think, bought secondhand for the Justice Center. There's some office chairs, and they all have these arms on them, and they all spin, or they are hard wooden straight back chairs, and little kids just are not real effective in these office chairs that we have. A lot of them are broken down. You all were good enough that when this area was renovated to give us those blue chairs that we all sat in for a long time to use actually in the courtroom, but General Effler and ADA Kazee, Gina, Sessions Judge Sexton, we all sort of talked this over and said we'd really like to use part of that money. We can certainly look to get in additional cameras for the courtrooms, because the courtrooms don't have cameras, but we need that additional money where we got the planters last time. We'd like to do some chairs like these that, one, don't have arms, because if you're like me and you sit down and you got wide hips, it's kind of hard to stay in one of those. We've had a lot of those chairs that are broken down for that reason. Like I said, a lot of them are because we have lots of children in and out of there. So this was a grant that can be used for safe spaces, waiting rooms for victims of crime, for children to wait for court processes, to meet with the prosecutor on the day of their hearing, or other, like me, I'm usually the guardian ad litem for these children, and I have to meet with them before they testify. So we'd like to use some of the money to try and upgrade that space for people who were there for those purposes. Now, the criminal defendants have their own deal back in the jail that they bring them up from. So this isn't what we're talking about. This is for people actually, witnesses, victims, children, and their families that come in that would like to use that additional money. If we get a couple of cameras, that's great, but this will help us too. It'll be a $2,000 match for the $10,000. I think all the other counties in General Effler's district have either applied, and most of them have already received their $10,000.
I was told all that applied received it, had gotten it, so.
Yeah, and most of it's been received, like sent already too, so pretty quick with the state.
Will of the commission?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Benny Hughes, seconded by Commissioner Leon Stepp. Any more discussion? Roll call, please, Marilyn.
Mickey. Justin.
For it.
Rod.
For it.
Kim.
Four.
Lester.
4.
Leon.
4.
Robert.
4.
Benny.
4.
Larry.
4.
Julie.
4.
10 for, none against.
10 for, none against. Motion passes.
Thank you all.
Item number 14, consideration of approval of James Bilbrey to the Fentress County Senior Center Board, term to expire 7/20/24.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Lester Gooding to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Robert Cooper. Any more discussion on this appointment? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, likewise. Item number 15, consideration of approval of the bid proposal for a medical facility building. Of course, as we all know, we've been out of a hospital or a emergency room since, I believe it was June 12th of 2019. And so we've been looking, try to come up with something to take care of us. The hospital that is there now has been offered, being purchased by several different people, and nothing ever come out of it. So on the 16th of September of 2019, y'all asked me and gave me permission to any way we could find a solution to this issue, then hopefully we could find one for an emergency room, ER, or hospital to search and do that. So I have, as y'all asked me to do. We had University of Tennessee stepped up and are going to try to do something if we can come up with a building, and they're very sincere about it. We'll talk a couple of times, basically each week, or at least once each week, about the situation. We started talking about this early 2019, and then COVID hit last year in March, so they put it on hold. So they came back. I think it was in May the 15th is when they came back, and we talked some more about it, and they were still interested if we could find something to help them do something with it, because they was willing to help us. So we have been, and so we took up some, we advertised for bids. We got one bid to come in, and that there was for the old Fentress Health Systems building behind On the Right store at 208 West Central Avenue. You've seen the bid proposals. You all know what it's going to be about, because this has been a subject that we talked about several times. And so what is the will of the commission at this time?
I make a motion to purchase the building.
No, second that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Robert Cooper to purchase the building, second by Commissioner Benny Hughes and also Lester Gooding. So is there any more discussion at this time?
Question.
Yes, sir.
On this, do we need to put, if we purchase this and everything goes through, this is just thinking long-term,
Mhm.
you know, because the hospital was sold at one point in time. Can we put some type of clause on this that would keep, if this is gonna be our ER, is there some type of clause that we can put on this to keep it from not ever being an ER? If something happens and our hospital does not open back up?
Well, it is actually going to be, because they trying to get around the 35-mile radius issue. And so in clause C of the, in section C, or one of them in there, I think it's in section C, it states that you can also have if you run a clinic into this, there's a possibility that you can get around the 35-mile radius thing to come into. And so we're also exploring that option too. And that there's what the agreement basically says that y'all have read, I'm sure. So I'm sure you could put anything in there if it gets that far, when we get into agreements with them or whatever, to be able to do that. What this is tonight is just an agreement that will go to CMS that states that we're involved for the long run on this. They thought that the last meeting when we had the meeting last month, that we could do something then, but they called back and they wanted an agreement that this was just not be a fly-by-night issue by our county, that we might get into it for 1 or 2 years and get out of it, as far as having a standalone ER here. So, CMS, they actually, set all your rates and such, Medicare, Medicaid, allotments, so they want somebody that's gonna be into it for the long haul and shows the interest of it. Am I pretty much, in saying that, Ms. Leslie, that's mostly what it is, isn't it?
It is. There's so the contingency that UT Hospital has with Fentress County with this particular agreement was one that we would bid and find a space to put them. If they are successful in lobbying the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services to remove that 35-mile-an-hour restriction, or excuse me, 35-mile distance restriction, I'm still back in criminal court, from the requirements for standalone ERs, if they were able to get that rule change at CMS level, then they want to enter into a 10-year lease on whatever building that we purchase or that we lease. It would be a sublease if we lease it, because they will have to show a long-term commitment. CMS doesn't, as Executive Johnson alluded to, doesn't want to jump in there and make a rule change that would be impactful for hundreds of rural communities on something that is a 1 or 2 year commitment. If they have to be able to see that UT Hospital, UT Medical Center, and Fentress County, because like we said before, we're the test case. We're the first ones who have come to them to say, hey, please allow us to go around that 30, or take it out. Just remove that 35-mile distance rule for transferring hospitals. It's just not feasible any longer. So without a long-term commitment, as Commissioner Miller talked about, then we certainly don't have any chance at getting that rule changed. So again, it's a contingent, all this is contingent on CMS's making that policy change. And we would then lease that building to UT. If that change takes place, they want to lease that building from us 10 years, and then they want to have additional renewal 5-year terms. So they're not talking in short terms. They're talking in, if we're going to come in and invest the infrastructure, if we're going to staff this building, if we're going to actually take your patients from Fentress County and do those transfers, we want longer term commitments from you all. And I think if you look within that agreement, which is the next agenda item, then they have asked us to commit to those long terms.
Let's have another question. So to do this freestanding ER, we need a certificate of need, right? And this is just in the process of doing that.
That would be in the next, that would be, it'll go from here, what y'all do tonight, and then your next step will be the agreement, and then the next step will be, we send it by mail or electronic device, however we send them the agreement, and then that their agreement will go to CMS, and they'll look at it and they'll say, well, yes, they're in it for the long haul, they're serious about this, and they will give a verdict of either, yes, we will let them do this, or we won't let them do this.
So my question is, the hospital here, the gentleman already has a certificate of need for the hospital. So our obtaining a certificate of need for the freestanding ER, is it going to do anything to contradict the hospital or anything? Like
He's just kind of limbo, I think, isn't he?
His licensure has been placed by the hospital itself, by Renova, in a limbo state, that they can put it on a sort of a hold status. So it's licensure. Now, certificates of need are a little bit different. They look at those on a case by case. There's not just one issue per area. It's what does that particular county or city or municipality need. UT is going to take the lead. They'll be seeking their own certificate of need through the one that I guess they already have. It's almost like an arm of that. And they're going to pay for the entire certificate of need process to get that particular item done if they are successful in lobbying CMS to make that rule change on the 35 miles.
So it's not us, what we're doing is not doing anything to jeopardize the hospital or potential. We're just, at this point in time, it's our only option to get immediate health care back in Fentress County. It's kind of where
This
we're
is the
at.
only party who's come forward that is
Yeah.
interested and who has, I think, the ability and who has sought out Fentress County. You know, we sort of put feelers out there, help us, help you.
We've actually called two of them, never got a return call from the two
And
hospitals.
they're the only one who has said, yeah, we'll even make the effort to lobby. And it don't cost a lot of money to lobby.
But like you said, though, it's not just a Fentress County. There's so many rural counties that are in the same place as we are, where financially a full-fledged hospital is just hard to keep going. But something like this that gives immediate assistance and can be a life-saving, life-changing.
And here's the
place.
key that we talked about when this first came up. Anybody who has enough money can open a freestanding emergency room or a clinic or whatever if you don't want to take Medicare and Medicaid money. If you are private pay, there's only, 10 or 12 of those in the U.S., and they exist in large cities and in very affluent areas. We're not that. I think 88% of the billings of the hospital when it was here, and I think the same reflects with their ambulance service, are Medicare and Medicaid pay. TennCare and Medicare are what pays the very big bulk. And so you have to have those people on board or you don't get any money.
We actually put out a feeler, well, in conversation, our hospital that's here now actually had changed CFOs and this, and they asked if anybody was interested, possibly this and that. And so it's been about 5 or 6 weeks ago, and I said, sure. I said, we'll go. I said, I'll go, the commission will go, or who remembers the commission, whatever, will go wherever, you know, whether it's Nashville, Knoxville, New York City, Miami, Florida, wherever he wants to come to talk about, and have a hair absolutely zero back from them in 6 weeks. And since that time, the Tellico Hospital has shut down also. The city owned it, and so it is down now also. But this is just a step. This is another step. What this here tonight is showing that you put faith in this, to leap of faith to do this, and hopefully it'll work out. Like it's just one more step.
And please know that's the key. It's a contingent upon that rule change, because without that rule change, they cannot come here and put a freestanding ER here, but they can't petition CMS for the rule change without some reassurances, and that's what this agreement is, that we are committed to keeping a standalone ER open here for at least 10 years.
I'm hoping that they can see that on their level. A county like Fentress County that we don't have a lot of revenue, we don't have a lot of money, but we're willing to spend $655,000 to say, we'll do whatever it takes to care for the people in this county. And hopefully that will speak volumes, is what I'm hoping, that they can see how committed we are. And I know Jeannie's put a tremendous amount of time into this, and I appreciate you, Jeannie.
Well, it's just because the commission was good enough to back it and say, yes, this is what we want you to try to do. You know, I get a lot of my orders from y'all, and we all work for the people of Fentress County. And of course, everyone here tonight thinks that this here is that doing this solution in some way is best for Fentress County. If I do something, it will. If it does go through, it will be a mark for rural Tennessee counties. It'll be a mark for rural counties in the whole United States if something like this can go through. But
in talking with our state consultant through the comptroller's office, this isn't just a paved road. We're paving the way. And it's not just for us, it's not just for Fentress County, it's not for Tennessee. This is a big deal across the nation, rural healthcare. And there's a lot of questions that's going to arise as we go, a lot of funding questions that's going to arise as we go. It's stuff that we're going to have to figure out every turn. These are the steps that we're taking to get there.
Well, we can't not have our ducks lined up.
There's going to
for
be
the help
counties,
for the Fentress County, you know.
There's going to be counties, municipalities that are referring to what we're doing now all across the United States to make this happen if it works. If this works and goes through, there's going to be countries saying, Fentress County, Tennessee done this, we can do it. How did they do it? That's what we're working on. It's not just changing Fentress County, it's changing rural healthcare everywhere, because it's an issue everywhere. It's not just here.
I've got a question about the motion. I know this is a leap of faith, but should the motion say that we're purchasing this or lease to purchase?
That's up to you all. They've offered
That's
it.
what I'm saying. It's either way, it's going to be sufficient. But if
Either way
we
it'll
just
be
outright
sufficient.
say that we're going to purchase it and this falls through, then we have a $700,000 building.
Well, it's on, my understanding is contingent on,
Not with the
Them
motion.
getting
The
the
motion is to
Medicare,
purchase
Medicaid.
the building.
The motion is to purchase or long time lease the building.
contingent to.
That's not the motion.
Okay. So that's,
So that was my question. I don't have a problem with this building because we've got to make these steps to do it. Should the motion say lease to purchase?
Well, here's the thing. So we want to be clear that they're two separate things. What UT has asked us to do is find them a space.
Which we have.
Which we have to do. In order for them to be able to go to CMS and say, we have somewhere to go if you'll just make this rule change. We don't have a space. So what you all put out the bids for is what's available. And we got one back, and they've offered it to us to purchase it
Or lease.
to lease it
Or lease.
to us.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not, here's the key, and everybody has to understand this, and whether or not the rule changes, we still have to have a space available for them. There is not a guarantee that it'll change. It's certainly a probability at this point because UT would not be sinking the time and money that they have, especially in the lobbying. And y'all know at the state and federal level especially, lobbying is expensive. They're also going to bear all the cost of getting the shipping need that Kim referred to. But there's not a guarantee that CMS will change that rule. So the lease purchase is not contingent on the rule change and UT actually following through this agreement. UT said before we can even pursue through CMS, we have to have somewhere to go. So it's sort of, you have to put the cart before the horse.
Well, I asked that question when we were on the call with UT about a lease to purchase, and they said that it's fine, but they need a long-term commitment. So whatever we sign into, at the least, they need a 10-year commitment out of it. So whether that's if you say it's a 6-month lease to renew another 6 months for an option to purchase at the end of a year, that's a possibility. That's not completely out of the realm, but they want a long-term commitment, and they need a long-term commitment because they're looking at a 10-year contract. They want us to secure something for at least 10 years.
That's what the agreement is.
All that money, if we've signed a lease, we're committed to all those months in a lease.
so we would be committing to 10-year on a lease.
We're just,
Minimum.
if it falls through, we're still committed to paying that lease, but yet we won't have a building. If we go ahead and purchase it,
You'll have a building.
then
It's
we
fine.
will have a building that can be sold to maybe recoup our money.
Yeah.
But if we just lease it, that money's just gone.
But you probably figure on the lease agreement, you'd probably say
I
what?
said lease to purchase. I didn't say just lease it out. I mean lease to purchase is what I said.
Is that part of our agreement though, in what they've submitted? Is that what it's presented?
All they want is for us to have a building they can lease for 10 years. How we get there is not critical to them. So long as it's something that we have access to for at least 10 years.
With the building as it was presented though, we have either the purchase price or the lease monthly. It doesn't say anything about leasing to own.
So if we done a 12-month lease with purchase to buy, hopefully it would cycle through and get the description need.
We discussed a couple of options on that, a 12-month lease with option to buy at the end of it, a 6-month, and then at your 6-month maturity, you have the option to re-up for 6 months or an option to purchase. After your second set of 6 months, so a year in, you have the option to buy after a year. That buys you some time or kicks the can down the road so that you can see where we're at with this CMS process at that point. I mean, I would want to be sure that we're not going to pay a year's worth of lease at $13,000, that it is going to be a lease to purchase, and that lease price is going to be paid against our debt or our what we owe. I'd hate to pay $13,000 a month for a year and then owe $655,000 on top of that.
That's what I started asking.
Yeah.
That doesn't come off the purchase price.
Well, that's all about your contract and how you work that up. Yeah, I wouldn't sign a lease to purchase without that. Truly, it's like Leslie said, it's up to you all. They just need to know they got a place to be for 10 years.
So if you lease something, you're gonna probably look at what? A third of that lease price go to interest that'll never come back probably?
I would highly
Well,
discourage long-term leasing. I think everybody here would agree with that at that price.
The
think-
motion was to purchase, correct?
Purchase. So the motion is actually, the motion was to purchase, yes. They made the motion, yes.
Question on the motion.
Question's been called for, roll call vote.
Mickey,
For.
Justin,
Ford?
Rod,
For
Kim,
Forward.
Benny,
4.
Robert,
4.
Lester,
4.
Leon,
4.
Larry,
4.
Julie, 4. 10 for, none against.
10 for, none against, the motion passes. This would take, it would not come into effect until July 1, which is 4 or 5 months down the road anyway, so.
That'll give plenty of time. We need a new survey. I've looked at it initially, just an initial title search after we got the bids in the other day. We'll do a full title search, we'll get a new survey. I think you all know those are about 60 days out and we'll get the contract to purchase together and then the deed work done, and then you all can ratify that. But we'll at least be able to do the guarantee for UT that we'll have a space for them within the agreement, which is the next agenda item.
Also, we'll have some funding options,
Yeah, in the
purchasing
meantime-
options by the time we come back to the commission.
We'll either come back to a budget meeting or come back to a commission meeting, work session or something to discuss funding options and how we intend to pay for this. So,
Item number 16 is consideration of approval of the agreement for the healthcare services for low-income individuals between Fentress County and University Health Systems, which was before this name change was University Institute Medical Center. But for several reasons, as it stated in the agreement, that's what the name changed to. So that is the agreement. Y'all have had this, y'all have read the agreement. Like I said, this is something that we'll work on tomorrow and get it sent to them. They will immediately, when they receive it and review it, it will go to the CMS in Atlanta for their decisions on this. And we'll hear from Matt that there is actually like we said a moment ago, that's the first step of many, or several more. Tonight's passage, then the agreement goes out and it'll go to CMS. And then after CMS gets finished with it, what they have to do, it will come back to the state of Tennessee for a CON. And then after they pass the CON, they'll start operating. They're going to sink several dollars in this building down here. We already know that, so they're prepared to do it. They're leading the way. UT Med is as far as what's going on in Washington, along with Congressman Rowe's office, Senate Lady Blackburn, and also Haggerty, Mr. Haggerty, which took Lamar's place. So when it gets there, we're going to be in good hands. If it has to go through there, we'll be in good hands when it gets to that spot. I believe we're in good hands with the state of Tennessee because they know our situation here and have known the situation since, Leslie, a year and a half ago when we first went down there and talked with them, probably, or longer than that. So they're aware of our situation here. I believe the state will help us any way that they can. Don't know that for sure, but I believe that they will because we have some good ties there with Senator Yeager, John Mark, and also Representative Kiesling. So nothing is a set thing until all the paperwork's done, as you all know that. But it's another step in the right direction. So this is a big step tonight here that y'all have done to get us to the second step, which will go to CMS in Atlanta, which will decide if our fees are acceptable for a clinic standalone emergency room here in the county. So with that being said, what is the will for the agreement between Fentress County, Tennessee and University Health Systems Incorporated?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the agreement between Fentress County and University Health Systems.
Motion made by Commissioner Larry Cooper.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Benny Hughes. Is there any more discussion on this at all? Everyone's had time to read the agreement? Any more discussion? Roll call vote, Marlon.
Mickey,
Four.
Justin,
Forward.
Rod,
Forward.
Kim,
Forward.
Benny,
4.
Robert,
4.
Lester,
4.
Leon,
4.
Larry,
4.
Julie, 4, 10 for, none against.
With passing this right here, these two amendments, I was told to tell y'all to pray and pray hard. Because if they're what CMS decides to do, it's gonna be the future of our medical service here in Fentress County, and y'all have done the step to try to get it there to show them that we are, very interested in doing this. Item number 17, consideration of approval of bid proposals for equipment for the Fentress County Sheriff's Department. I believe we have someone online that will speak to that at this time, possibly.
I got the sheriff and Jerry Mifflin online. I'm gonna unmute both of them.
Mr. Mifflin, will you want to speak first?
Go ahead, yeah, go ahead.
Go right ahead and tell us what we need to know about this bid proposals for equipment for the Fentress County Sheriff's Department of $28,866.50.
The bid for the body cams that we asked for, we sent out bids to 5 different people, and with the parameters of the bids for in-house storage, we got the one bid back from Custom Signal, which is the only company that comes to the sheriff's office to demonstrate their program. Axon does a web-based, cloud-based rather, and charges a yearly fee to store your videos. This stuff will all be stored in-house, and it's one set fee. They maintain the cameras at a 3-year full warranty, and they will install the hardware that we need. We furnish the servers for the storage. That's basically what it is.
I think the sheriff was on the line there. Sheriff, your intentions are to take this out of the drug fund, correct?
That's what he said.
Okay.
What's the will of the commission on this?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Lester Gooding to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Justin Miller. Any more discussion?
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mifflin, who has access, or what access, or who has access with the video?
They will be myself, Jason Duncan, as administrators of the program. We will determine which videos, how long we keep the videos, and no one else will have access to the videos to delete anything. No other, the custom signal will not be able to access the video.
What's not included in this cost is the setup of on-site servers.
No, it's $4,500 for the on-site servers. It's including the servers that we're going to have to get, because we have 2, they're going to check to see if they work. If they don't, we will have to get 2 servers.
I talked with Fred the other day from Fast Assist. He thinks that those are too outdated to be able to handle that much data, even upgraded.
I agree.
But we will have to put in place servers. This is the software for storing that data, but we'll have to put in place servers. He told me you're looking at a price of anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000 for servers to handle this type of data, to store that long and have that much space for storage. Of course, you've got to have backup capabilities with that as well, for any type of on-site storage and servers, that's what's not included in this bid. It's separate. That'd be a different price. They have a cloud-based option. Of course, that's in the cloud. That's not an on-site server storing, which is, I think, Jerry, did you say that was about $7,000 a year?
A year.
So let me jump in there and say, on a legal perspective for the county, y'all, some of you have met Robin Williams, who's our local government pool assigned attorney from our insurance company. If she was here, she'd tell you the one thing that we do incredibly poorly on for any lawsuit based through the sheriff's department is we don't have the capability to store long-term these videos or body cams and or the security footage from the Justice Center and jail. Those are things, when it was put in place, that was 2014. We're 7 years down the road, and y'all know how much technology has changed since then. This is something I think that if we don't do, we're very soon going to get not just called out by our insurance counsel, but down the road, some lawsuit issues. I think these boys, Detective Mifflin will know how many times I've come in to watch a video and said, I need to watch this video. Where is it? And if the storage capability isn't there, it's incredibly difficult to get them to play on what we have now. I do hope that once, if you all approve this and they actually get these body cams, I've told them, if you get them, better never not have them on. Don't ever make me have to defend a case where you didn't have your body cams on and active when we needed them, because they have really helped us in the past, now that everybody's on board with that. But I will say it's just real hard to watch one. Detective Mifflin, Jason Duncan, they try to play them for me sometimes or put them on a flash drive. And without that updated capability, we're just really lagging behind. That's going to put us in a bind at some point.
I've had some of the deputies catch me in passing and say, where are we at on those body cams? My camera's broke or something. And where we're at today, in today's times, a lot of times this is the only defense that some of these guys have is footage.
This has corrected, for lack of a better word, many he said, she said, your officer called me so-and-so, or your officer did this, your officer scratched my car, on these claims that people try to make against the sheriff's department. So having that video is a critical thing, but having it on a long-term storage where you may not think anything of it, and 6 months later, someone wants to say, oh, there was a domestic and these officers came out and they said this to my husband, or they said that. Well, it's hard to defend if we can't call it back up.
So this is coming out of the drug fund?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
At the end of February, they had $86,000 in the drug fund.
Question to the vote, Mr. Chairman.
Question been called for. Roll call, please, Marilyn.
Mickey? 4. Joseph?
4.
Rod?
4.
Kim? 4. Benny?
4.
Robert?
4.
Lester?
4.
Leon?
4.
Larry?
4.
Julie? 4. 10 for, none against.
10 for, none against, motion passes. Item number 18, consideration of approval of sending the Fentress County Agricultural Pavilion specification out for bid proposals. You have that in your packet. Those there, you have those, the dimensions and such, some specifications and such. We have those. We have the whole big set down in the office. This is just a small amount here that we have. But those are ready to go out, to be let out on bids.
I have a question,
Yes,
Jimmy.
ma'am.
On floor plan part A, where it says reception, if you look there, reception, when you walk into a building and you're the first person there, you kind of want to be able to see who's coming in the parking lot. And whoever has to sit in that office, their view is completely blocked by the sign. The brick sign that says Fentress County 4-H Pavilion, which it's a beautiful sign. And that's gonna screw the whole front up of the building if you put a window there, but I would hate to sit in that office and not be able to see out. I feel like that's kind of a safety issue myself.
We'll make a note of that and send it to, as far as that, you have, and what it'll actually say on there, it'll say Fentress County Ag Pavilion, is what it'll say.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, I don't know what you can do, how you need to change it, but
Put windows where the office can see straight into the
do
foyer.
you see what I'm saying?
it has windows there. It's
Cause
just-
her or his or whatever, whoever sits in that reception,
Could you not add security cameras to that and then put a monitor in the office with her?
yes. See that right there is this.
First picture of the outside.
I mean, if you're gonna, whoever sits in there is not gonna have any idea who comes into the building. And they're probably in there alone, you know what I mean?
Until they're done.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to sit
But
in
then
there.
your double doors is right there.
Security camera.
Yeah,
See,
whatever,
right there,
you
you can have
know,
like
something.
glass, glass.
I think these are glass right there.
Okay, okay. I would show your office, so the windows there, you can see right
So
through.
what you're saying, you don't, Ms. Julie, you don't think that the double doors is enough for you to see what's coming up?
Well,
Larger arena.
I mean, don't you feel like it's kind of blocked off? If you look at the,
It wouldn't be a bad idea to have a.
well, if you look at
camera
this
right there.
picture, I mean, that's pretty blocked. Because, I mean, whoever's in that office, they're behind this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
I don't know, what do you
We'll
think?
just throw it to Alan and say, can you change this right here in your plans?
I mean, this looks so good, I hate to mess that up, but.
Could you not just flip the stone to the other side?
Yep, that's the
The window on that
offices,
side of the
and
door?
then reception's right
The other
behind
side's just the
that.
conference room.
You could, yeah, switch it over to the other side. Be just very simple. He could just move it on the other side of the
What do you
door.
think? I mean, I don't
That's
know.
fine, yeah, it works.
I would just hate to sit there by myself and not be able to see. I would. I would, that's just me.
Yeah. Well, we'll
You
make
know.
a note of that and we'll ask Alan about it.
Same
I'm
thing.
sure, don't think there's any, to me, I'm no architect or nothing, but I don't think there'd be any
Yeah.
problem with it, but just make a note and do that.
Yeah,
Up here, they couldn't hear you.
whatever you think there.
We have a motion with, what Miss Julie was saying a moment ago, to ask Alan about that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
To accept these with that one exception right
I
there that
mean,
you can see.
would it still look good? I don't know. What do you think?
You need a motion?
I need a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Benny Hughes, to put these out for bids with the exception to see Mr. Allen Hill and bring that to his attention about that right there. Can you move from one side to the other?
Second.
Second by Commissioner, Mickey McDonald. Is there any more discussion? So these will go out in the next week, I'd say, well, the bids, I'm sure.
Just to be a combined detail.
Yeah.
Any more discussion? Roll call vote.
Mickey? Four. Justin?
Forward.
Rod?
Forward.
Kim?
Four.
Benny?
Forward.
Robert?
Forward.
Lester?
4.
Leon?
4.
Larry?
4.
Julie?
4.
10-4, none against.
10-4, none against, motion passes. Item number 19 is consideration of approval of the classification and compensation study proposed by the organizational management group. Becky, you want to address that?
I think in the budget committee, we talked a little bit about the classification study and why it's so important that we go ahead and have one. We've never had one in the county before, and we've had our wage scale since 2014 borrowed from, I think, Putnam County, and we've just tried to make it fit. And as we renovate for the future, it's important for us to move forward and get good job descriptions on all of our employees. Do you have any questions for me for it?
Is there a cost with this?
Yes, 15,500 for the study.
I'll
That's
make
the
a
initial
motion to
cost.
approve.
I second that motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Lester Gooding, second by Commissioner Kim Davidson. Is there any discussion on this?
Becky, will they write up all the job descriptions for
Yes, so the
everything?
process is Mr. Russell will come in, sit down with all the elected officials, kind of give them a brief overview of how he'll go about it. He will take time to interview our employees, and then work with us to write job descriptions that will cover all aspects that we need for federal and state law.
It's not like, we don't want our elected officials to think we're not coming in and telling them what their people are supposed to do, whatever. They're telling this gentleman what they do.
Right.
And then what that does, that protects them down the road if something happens and somebody can't work or whatever. You actually have a defined job of what you're saying they can't do or what their job description involves. It's a safety net that we have skirted around for a long time that we didn't need to. So if we can get that in place, and again, we're not trying to step over into anybody's territory or telling people what they're supposed to do. We just want them to tell us so we can put that in a good, uniform, consistent job plan and have that on file.
So Leslie, would you like to speak to the importance of this?
I think Kim's right. I mean, we have looked at this probably since I started doing this job back in September 2014. We tried to do it quote unquote on our own initially before we even had human resources, back and forth with the wage scales. And I think everybody who works here oftentimes feels undervalued or they like to compare their job to somebody else's job when we don't know if it's apples to oranges or apples to grapes, because we don't do that job particularly. And it's hard to step in from the outside and say, oh, you do A, B, C, and D, when we really don't know what a particular skill set is needed on a daily basis. And in that, we've run into a couple of things, both work comp wise, equal employment opportunity wise. A couple of times it's come back to bite us. But I think a comprehensive plan just gives everybody a good starting point. And it's not done internally. It's done by a company, a person who's a vocational expert, a job expert who can tell us. And if I looked at his resume, this isn't a new thing. This is something that most municipalities at least have had done at some point in time. And I don't think it's something you ever have to have done very often again in the future, because we've had so much change over the last 7 years. And we're just talking about that. Now is probably a good time. I think maybe 7 years ago it probably was premature. But what people do now with technology, I think we're probably in a better position to know what somebody's job is or is not. And oftentimes the is not is the key.
Doesn't he do a follow-up, Becky, or something?
He will do follow-ups, and the follow-ups are significantly less. I think Cumberland County just had a follow-up, and it was in the $2,000 range. So if we do need an update, the heavy work is already done.
Becky, all these references here, they were all satisfied with what they?
I think so. We got the number from Cumberland County.
I mean, there's a lot of references
Who
there
referred
into
to us.
business.
Any more discussion?
I'd just like to say, if we pay for this $15,000 and 500 whatever cents, we get the results back from this fella. We're spending over $15,000 for his recommendation. If we're going to spend the money, I'd like to see his recommendation weigh heavily upon what we apply. We apply his recommendation instead of just brush it aside and so on. So that's right.
Put it to use.
Put it to use.
Any more discussion? Roll call vote, Ms. Marlin.
Mickey? For. Justin?
For it.
Rod?
For it.
Kim?
For.
Benny?
4.
Robert?
4.
Lester?
4.
Leon?
4.
Larry?
4.
Julie? 4. 10 for, none against.
Motion passes 10-4, none against. Item number 20, consideration of approval of the PRN acknowledgement form defining eligible benefits. Becky?
So last week, or last month, we did our ACA look-back measurement resolution, and what this statement is, or what this form is just us recognizing for our PRN employees who is eligible for insurance as a new hire PRN, or who is, how do you have insurance if you are full-time going to PRN, as well as their TCRS eligibility. No other benefits apply to PRN.
And just so you'll know, this is what meets both the federal, which is the critical employment law requirements, and the state requirements for TCRS. So we didn't make this up. It's certainly something that just meets the federal and state laws.
I make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Kim Davidson. Do I hear a second? Second by Commissioner Lester Gooding. Any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Contrary likewise. Item number 21, consideration of acceptance of an extension to the Safer at Home policy and an update on the eligible events for paid leave under the Safer at Home policy. Becky?
So the American Rescue Plan that was passed last week by President Biden did extend our Safer at Home, or the eligibility for emergency paid sick leave, and expanded FMLA. We have in the past offered it when it was a mandate. Then in January, you voted to extend it to the end of March. Now it is being extended until the end of September, with some additional eligible events, which would be, you would see in the red on the emergency paid sick leave form that I fill out on everyone who calls. That's if you're waiting on your diagnosis from your COVID test, if we've asked you to get a COVID test. Also, if you have been immunized, and if you've had any illnesses, or you don't feel well from the immunizations, are also qualifying events for your emergency paid sick leave, if you haven't already exhausted your sick leave. So would it be your will to extend to the end of September?
What is the will of the commission?
Did you say till the end of September?
Yes.
It's a long way down the road. But I'll make a motion to accept.
Motion by Commissioner Lester Gooding to accept. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Robert Cooper. Is there any more discussion?
Is this mandated?
It is not mandated. It is optional. And so far, the mandate went away at the end of December. And when it came optional in January, you guys decided to go ahead and extend this emergency paid sick leave.
Becky, has there been any payout tied to this program?
Payout, no. I think it is just that we, instead of them taking their sick time when they're ill, we extend them this leave that the government has said that we've done for all of our other employees who've been ill with COVID so far.
I believe what it was, and correct me if I'm wrong, which I possibly could be, that in the first round of COVID, there was a certain time limit. And then when it ended, the feelings was that, well, people that had got to use it because of COVID, because of their family, because they had COVID, either one, they got to use it, but people that wasn't sick at that time didn't have a chance to use it. And so it extended them the chance to use it that they hadn't had if they was to to pick it up or to get it or whatever. So, and that there's been a couple months. And
Yes.
so, that there was the reason that y'all extended to start with. And people that had to start with it got to use the benefits of it. And you give them another, 8 weeks?
So, no, I think right now you only still get the
But I mean-
80
but
hours.
I mean, you allowed them to do that, yes.
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 Now, I
for a
will
period
say,
that you voted for to do, so.
we have significant measures to make sure that we don't have anybody taking advantage. They do have to turn in doctor's excuses. Currently, we do not have anybody on COVID leave. And we haven't probably for the last 3 to 4 weeks. One, I can say probably in the last 6 weeks.
Becky,
Yes.
my understanding is that they can approve this, the new federal act allows approval through September of 2021. But is there any opportunity to shorten that time if they only want to do it for 3 months? Are they allowed, so long as you don't go past September
Right.
of 21?
And I think that those dates are put there because some agencies are able to get tax relief from this. Okay, as a municipality, Tyler, am I wrong? We don't get that tax relief. But we have had this in place for our employees. Now, the only thing that it's doing is adding if somebody gets ill from the vaccine.
That was gonna be my question. Why would we pass up the end of the fiscal year, which is June 30th? Why would we take it to September in the next year? Why not stop it when our year ends June 30th instead of all the way through September?
And then you have say we have
And then we can look at it and
a fourth round
extend
of
it.
COVID, or, the vaccines just opened up March the 8th for persons who are 65 and younger with a comorbidity or a condition like hypertension, COPD, overweight, diabetes, those things. They only opened up March the 8th. So we may very well have some employees who get the vaccine and have that reaction. This is available for them. This is a new language that's available for them as that case. But I think the hope for everybody is that you would be vaccinated by, May, or, it's really experiencing, and by July 4th, I think is the federal government's goal. So if you only want to do this for 3 months and then revisit it, so long as you don't go past that September rule, I don't think you have to take it out that far.
And Larry, I wonder if the September rule is because it's the end of the fiscal year for the federal government.
Right, ours is June,
Right.
theirs is September.
That's correct.
Yep.
Let's move on.
Do we have a second on his?
Robert.
And the motion was consideration of approval of acceptance of an extension to the Safer at Home policy and an update on the eligible events for paid leave under the Safer at Home policy. Someone want to amend that and put a date on that?
I would ask them to change it to June 30th instead of through September. That's my just request.
I will amend it to go to June the 30th.
Motion been made to amend it
And I'll second that.
until June the 30th. And we have a second on the amendment to that.
Well, they made the original motion.
Made the
They can
original
change it.
motion.
Both of them did.
Any more discussion?
Just extend it to June 30th.
Yes, sir.
We got to vote on the motion first.
This will cover it right here. Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Mickey? For. Justin?
For it.
Rod? For. Kim?
Forward.
Benny?
4.
Robert?
4.
Lester?
4.
Leon?
4.
Larry?
4.
Julie?
4.
10 for, none against.
10 for, none against. Motion passes. Item number 22, consideration of approval of a change order to the ADA project for door hardware throughout the courthouse. Mr. Robert Cooper, would you like to address that, what the building committee did?
Was it?
We had a building committee meeting here a few weeks ago, and we voted to go with the bronze because of the color scheme in the courthouse, and then so forth, but, that's what we went with compared to the Crown, basically.
I make a motion to approve. I second that.
Motion by Commissioner Lester Gooding to approve, second by Commissioner Leon Stepp. Is there any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Mickey? For. Justin?
For it.
Rod? Kim?
Four.
Benny?
4.
Robert?
4.
Lester?
4.
Leon?
4.
Larry?
4.
Julie? 4. 10 for, none against.
Motion passes, 10 for, none against. Consideration of the following budget amendments. Senior Center, $400. Do I hear a motion on that?
I so move.
Motion by Commissioner Rod Williams, seconded by Commissioner Leon Stepp. Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Mickey? For. Justin?
For it.
Rod?
For it.
Kim?
Four.
Benny?
4.
Robert?
4.
Lester?
4.
Leon?
4.
Larry?
4.
Julie? 4. 10 for, none against.
10 for, none against. Item passes. Second item is photo frame project. This is $3,379.20. This is money that has been given to this account for the picture frames that will be hung in the courthouse, first floor. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Lester Gooding to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Robert Cooper. Any more discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mickey? For. Justin?
For it.
Rod?
For it.
Kim?
Four.
Benny?
4.
Robert?
4.
Lester?
4.
Leon?
4.
Larry?
4.
Julie? 4. 10 for, none against.
10 for, none against. Motion passes. Is there any other business to come before the commission at this time?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Motion being made for adjournment by Commissioner Benny Hughes, second by Commissioner Larry Cooper. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary likewise. Thank you all very much. Appreciate y'all very much.
For more than a century, Union Bank has been serving the people of Fentress County. Now, as we begin a new chapter in our history of service, we want to take this opportunity to reassure you that while our building may be new, we're still the same friendly people you have known for years. Union Bank, the same people, the same goals, and the same commitment to you. Union Bank, your locally owned hometown bank for more than a century, growing to meet your needs. Equal Housing Lender Member FDIC.